Hello, my name is Scott Davis, and welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for April 12th to April 18th of 2015. And on April 12th, we've got the sun. You can see it denoted right here as this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Aries. It's in the 42nd hexagram. And on the outside of the wheel, we see the chop mark for the 42nd, numbered from bottom to top. The 42nd hexagram goes yang, yin, 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 yang, yang. And then the 42nd hexagram is then mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here is the 42nd gate of growth, increase, the expansion of resources, which maximizes the development of full potential. Located in the sacral center in an abstract collective energy path in the sensing circuit called the channel of maturation, a design of balanced development that connects to its harmonic, the 53rd gate of beginnings, development as a structured progression that is both steadfast and enduring. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on April 12th. The sun is in the 42nd gate. The earth is in the 32nd gate. The north node is in the 48th gate, with the south node in the 21st gate. Mercury is also in the 42nd gate along with the sun. Venus is in the 20th gate. Mars is in the 24th gate. Jupiter is newly direct and just beginning to move forward in the 33rd gate. Saturn is retrograde in the 34th gate. Uranus is in the 51st gate. Neptune is in the 37th gate. And Pluto is stationed or at a standstill as it turns retrograde on April 16th in the 54th gate. Now, obviously, not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. And no matter what the weather, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we've got two channel definitions due to the transit field, with the Earth in the 32nd gate and Pluto in the 54th gate. This brings us the channel of transformation, a design of being driven until the 16th, which brings tribal energy to support our drive to attain a distant goal. This channel definition is projected channel that must wait for the correct allies. Will influence us to transform raw energy into something that endures, to turn hard work into success. The theme of this definition is time, money, value, business, and bargaining. And as a conditioning force, I'd expect that we'll see people wanting to be recognized for their hard work through material success. And for those who don't value themselves or their place in the community, they may become workaholics under this influence. The defined splenic center brings intuition and well-being, and Ra had warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. And then, of course, for folks without a defined root center, this transit definition can bring pressure. And then we've got Venus in the 20th gate and Saturn in the 34th gate, which brings us the channel of charisma until the 16th. And this will influence us to become busier in the now, where the things that we think about become the experiences we're having. I expect folks to be deeply involved in their daily activities, unaware of the expectations of others. People are not likely to even notice how busy they are, with the possibility of erupting spontaneously without an awareness of why. They will be in their own little world, out of sight, out of mind, might describe this. This also is going to affect non-generator types, in feeling busy and having the endurance to work. Obviously, don't get used to it. It's only going to be there for a short time. And this also may make them think that they know when enough is enough, which could lead to a premature or abrupt ending to something that really needs more time. And as individual circuitry, this definition brings melancholy or blue feelings that is best used in a creative activity. We're going to be looking at the sun's ravaging line values daily because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said, we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. But if your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On April 12th, the day begins with the sun in the second line of the 42nd hexagram. The sun is exalted in the 42.2, which is described as identification, exalted recognition, and acute capitalization of trends. Power for growth through participation in trends. Second line days, everyone's waiting for something. They're waiting to be called for their natural talents. People are stuck in their own trip, so it's not a great day to have a party because no one's really going to want to come because they'd rather stay at home under the influence of the hermit. But then later on the 12th, the sun then moves up into the martyr line, the third line of the 42, and this shift happens at 4:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Again, you'll want to adjust that to your local time zone. And the sun in the 42.3 is trial and error. In times of increase, mistakes are a natural part of progress. Exalted, the energy and assertion to turn mistakes into advantages. The power to accept mistakes as part of growth. Detrimented, a moodiness that in error may succumb to brooding and unnecessary caution. Mistakes give power to moodiness and caution. Third line days, you want to be careful on the roads, be careful of swinging doors. It's things in your environment. You know, this is the martyr line, which is about a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. So we might have bonds made or bonds broken. Things bump into us under that third line energy. So it's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane, but you have to be careful because things can go wrong. But ultimately, those things going wrong should lead to some type of discovery. And then on the 13th, the sun then moves up into the opportunist line, the fourth line of the 42 at 3:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it's described as the middleman, exalted, the quintessential manifestation of the mediator, the maturity to bring growth through mediation, detrimented, where the gift to establish and maintain relationships is ill-suited in this position to act in mediation, where harmony must take a backseat to pragmatism. A lack of maturity, where the power to harmonize distorts mediation and limits growth. Fourth line days, we're changing from the lower trigram, which is more about a personal process, to the upper trigram, which is more transpersonal. Moving from inward perspective to looking outward, and the fourth line themes of friendship, companionship, networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are more open to networking, to being friendly and social. And then also on the 13th, Mercury moves out of the 42nd, leaving the sun behind and into the third hexagram. Need a 42nd, and we need a 3. And we need a 3 that's going to stick. All right, so anyway, so Mercury in mythology is the messenger of the gods. So this is Ra talked about the Mercury being about communication and expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also as music. What do we communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And so what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 3? Well, it might be, we might hear people talking about empowerment through mutation. This is the gate of ordering, difficulty at the beginning, the fundamental challenge of initiation to transcend confusion and reestablish order. And Mercury is detrimented in the first line of the 3rd hexagram, which is synthesis. Difficulties can be only overcome when all pertinent factors have been analyzed. Detrimented, the reliance on intellect that at the expense of intuition can lead to unnecessary frustration, the inability to know that order will emerge, and the drive to find this knowing elsewhere. On the 14th, the sun then moves up into the 5th line. So it's leaving the opportunist line, entering into the heretical 5th line of the 42 at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun's exalted in the 42.5 as self-actualization, exalted the fulfillment and actualization of purpose as a natural path whose reward is a healthy sense of self rather than the power and influence that naturally follows. Growth that is self-fulfilling and naturally leads to influence. 5th line day is heretical. It's the heretic. The thing to understand about the 5th line is it's about projection, and the projection always goes positive, then negative. The positive being they could do it, they'd be perfect for it. They're the exact person we need. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, for whatever reason, the projection is not met, excuse me, then we experience the punishment. The heretic is tied to the stake for not meeting the expectation. And so, this can be a day of suspicion, but also universalization, where something leaks out like a virus and spreads rapidly, whether it's a YouTube video that suddenly there's millions of viewings or a Facebook post that goes viral. There's a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on a 5th line day. But like I said, it's about projection. And if they're projecting on you and you're not meeting that projection, it really isn't paranoia if they're truly out to get you. And this, of course, impacts the nature of relationships. Seduction also being a theme of the 5th line day. On the 15th, then the sun moves into the 6th line. So up here in the role model line of the 42nd hexagram, the shift happening at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 42.6 is nurturing, exalted, unnatural, and excuse me, just getting over a cold here, instinctive nurturing of others, the power to share the process of growth with others, detrimented a restrictive and malefic materialism that is self-alienated and encourages aggression, the refusal to share benefits with others. And the 6th line on the roof of the hexagram, if you think about being on the roof of a building, you don't tend to really look at the building so much as what's beyond the building, what's going on in the neighborhood. Excuse me, again. And so the 6th line day is looking beyond. It's looking at what's the next thing. And Ra talked about not getting stuck with your head in the clouds because you'll end up with something banging into your kneecaps. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around us because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. And like 3rd line days, there's certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. Excuse me. Also on the 15th, Mercury moves out of the 3rd hexagram and into the 27th hexagram. We talked about Mercury earlier in the report. So what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 27th? Well, we might hear people talking about caring for others. This is the gate of caring, nourishment, the enhancement of the quality and substance of activities through caring. And Mercury in the first line of the 27 is selfishness, exalted, the ego-driven first law of caring for oneself, which is not necessarily at the expense of others. The power to care for oneself first. Detrimented, envy and its attendant misfortunes, the power of selfishness that is manifested through envy. Okay, on the 16th, the sun then moves out of the 42nd hexagram and into the third. And with this shift, we have the Earth also moving, of course. And the Earth, it moves out of the 32nd hexagram and into the 50. Which means with this transition, the definition of the root center goes away. So we've got the Earth in the 50th hexagram in the gate of values, the cauldron, the value of historical continuity, whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and the future. And this shift happens at 12:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and the sun is in the third gate of ordering, difficulty at the beginning. The fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order. The sun in the first line of the third hexagram is synthesis. Difficulties can only be overcome when all pertinent factors have been analyzed. Exalted, the understanding that confusion is natural and must always exist before clarity can be achieved. The innate knowing that order will emerge from confusion. Detrimented, the reliance on intellect at the expense of intuition can lead to unnecessary frustration. The inability to know that order will emerge and the drive to find this knowing elsewhere. And when we've got the sun in the first, second, third line, or lower trigram, those are days when people are more look inward, they're absorbed in their own process. The theme of the first line, the investigator, is that there's a fear or an anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act. It's a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't understand, can't make sense of, or don't know. And then on the 16th, Venus moves out of the 20th gate in the hexagram and into the 16th. Which then means that we have a new channel definition, obviously, here. But the centers stay the same. I'll take this one off to keep it from getting confusing. And so in human design, Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It brings morality or values, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us, and what disturbs you on a moral level. Your design and personality, Venuses, tell of the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life, and that if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. In the 16, Venus is in the gate of skills, enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. So Venus in the first line of the 16 is delusion, false enthusiasm, exalted, the daydreamer, the expression of talent through daydreaming, detrimented, the public communication of inevitably unrealized claims, the tendency to express fantasy as fact. So with Mercury in the 27 and the Earth in the 50, we have the channel of preservation, which will affect us until the 18th. The conditioning aspect of this channel, for those of us who do not have it as part of our design, is to maintain or change the values of people in your community during this time period. This could be a time when folks take on so much responsibility that they lose sight of themselves. People are more likely to focus on nurturing and guiding those in need, particularly children. We might observe the themes of values being established or undermined being played out in dialogue or action, which may involve attempts to bring those who are seen as outsiders into the community. For those of us who don't have a splenic definition, Rod warned that we might let go of something that is good for us when the transit field defines the splenic center. And for those non-generator types, they might experience this as feeling busy or having the endurance to work. Obviously, don't get used to it. It's just the energy that we're experiencing. They may also think that they know when enough is enough, which could lead to a premature or abrupt end to something that really needs more time. And then with Venus in the 16 and the North Node in the 48, we've got the channel of the wavelength, the design of talent, until the 21st. This is collective logic channel, which for those folks who have this in their chart is about reaching some level of mastery through practice. This is a channel is about caring skills. And given how that there's a very short time period for this channel to be defined by the program, it's hard to really consider how this will condition people. But we might find folks who are engaged in a repetition of some type of creativity to make gradual improvement. Collective logic creativity is different from individual creativity in that it is creativity that is earned through hard work and commitment that is to be shared with the collective, whereas individual creativity is about empowerment in the now. The defined splenic center again brings intuition and well-being, and we might people without that center might feel that they may let go of something that actually is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. And then on the 17th, the sun then moves up into the second line of the third hexagram at 11:43 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the second line of the third hexagram is described as immaturity. The unrestrained acceptance of guidance, exalted, the unrelenting energy for growth will eventually triumph. The energy and potential for individual mutation, detrimented internal instability, which both attracts and rejects authority simultaneously. Energy and potential that is conditioned by others, leading to instability. And like we said before, second line days, everybody's waiting for something. This is the line of the hermit. They're waiting to be called for their natural talents. People are stuck in their own trip. It's just not a great day to have a party because people really don't want to come. They'd rather stay home under the influence of the hermit. And then on the 18th, the sun then moves up into the third line, the martyr line of the third hexagram at 10:43 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the third line of the third hexagram is survival, the ability to recognize and distinguish between fertile and sterile in various manifestations. Exalted in reproduction, the ability to choose the best mate. An innate knowing of what is sterile and what is fertile, where the mutation is specifically biological and dependent on collaboration with others. Detrimented, the perverse denial of evolutionary standards, an innate contrariness which refuses to mutate. And as we talked about earlier, in the line of the martyr, this is about a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work under that third line energy. So also on the 18th, Mercury moves out of the 27th hexagram, and it moves into the 24th hexagram, which means we no longer have a sacral definition. And at that same point, Mars later on in the day moves out of the 24th. So Mercury moved out of the 27th, joined Mars in the 24th, and then Mars moves out of the 24 and into the second hexagram and gate. So Mercury, as we talked about earlier, is about communication. And, what might be communicated, what might we hear when Mercury's in the 24 hexagram? Maybe a unique awareness and melancholy, as this is an individual gate. This is the gate of rationalizing, returning the natural and spontaneous process of transformation and renewal. Mercury in the first line of the 24 is the sin of omission, transformation that requires retrogressive periods before renewal can take place, exalted the will to triumph, in this case, the faith that the end justifies the means, inspiration that demands a reassessment of the past, of past thinking, before a rational concept can be established. Detrimental self-delusion, which unnaturally justifies periods of regression. Inspiration that leads to an irrational focus on the past. And then, like we said earlier, Mars moves out of the 24, leaving Mercury behind, and moves into the second hexagram. So Mars is the gate of higher knowing, the receptivity as the primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. Mars is detrimented in the first line of the second hexagram, which is intuition, sensitivity to disharmony and atrophy. Detrimented the assertion of ego in spite of wisdom, the urge for action that will ignore the wisdom of the higher self. And Ross spoke of Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype in mythology, and by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. No matter what the energies are that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this is an experience about being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. Enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas are that beckon to distract us. And we're all here just giving the performance of our lifetime on the world stage. Just take some time to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as acting your part. Remember, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. And I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. And the next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on April 19th of 2015. It should be available on the 18th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube, as there's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text, as widely as you choose. And I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And then contact me at New World Birth if you'd like to make a donation. As I said before, getting a reading is probably the best way to make a donation, and you'll get something very valuable to yourself. And these are epic readings. They tend to be at least 2 hours long, and often quite a bit longer than that. What can I say? Projector here. Don't know when enough is enough. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. As always, I'm grateful that you've taken the time to connect with the information in these reports, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future, either in a reading or a future video, or through email if you have a question or something on that nature. Anyway, all my best to everyone, and look forward to seeing you to connecting with you next week. All my best.